Okay, I told you to watch for a Bitcoin bottom for wave three within the next 1 to 5 trading sessions. And I told you it could happen. Remember, we talked about the sequence counts. I told you it could happen with bar 8 or 9 or just under bar 8 or 9. So I told you it could happen Thursday or Friday. Today's Friday. We're getting bar 9. Show you the sequence counts in just a second. Or we could still try to go and take out that low, and I'll show you the Elliott wave counts with that. I told you we became very, very oversold here. Talked about this forming a divergence eventually when we get the bottom. We're rallying up. We rallied up over 13%. We dropped lower right at Friday's open and then had this big, big rally. Now it's starting to fizzle out a little bit, but we had a big rally of 13, 14%, whatever it was. Right now we're up 10.70% as I'm making the video here. Told you to be watching for a bottom to develop either bar 8, 9, or shortly thereafter. We came down after I made the video, hit these trend lines right here. We're bouncing off of these levels. We were just under the black trend line, the solid black one, but we did hit the dotted black trend line. Remember back over here, I told you when I predicted we get a rally back in late December and early January, January 2nd, I told you that the moon boys had better pray when I predicted this rally. We predicted we were going up to 100 period. Told you the 14th, 15th, and 16th, and 17th. The moon boys had better pray that this is not the new expanded channel, because if it is, you're dropping down to these lows down over here is what we're doing. So again, got that right. Got the lower high with the rejection at the 100 period right. Got the rally right. Got the sell-off right. Got the top right. Told you to be expecting a bounce. Nothing goes straight down. And again, we've now reached my target. We've dropped now to 60,000. We've hit a low of $69,069. Again, who told you, or I'm sorry, $60,069. Who told you we were going to go to 60,000 back up at the top? Now, again, I am looking for a bottom. I told you it's going to be in this area between 8,000, the 200-week moving average, and 63,000. And I told you I was looking for a move to around 60 to 63,000. I'm looking for evidence of a bottom. I think that what will likely happen is that we have a 5-leg structure down, and you're probably going to end up seeing a divergence develop here on the RSI. I think you'll eventually see a divergence develop here, probably into the latter portion of the month of February. And I think that you'll see this happen. So either right now we're getting this minor wave 4 or this intermediate wave 4 if we can get a bigger rally. Right now we're getting a bounce off of these levels of support that I've talked about. But again, I am looking for a bottom. I am looking to eventually flip my trade. Right now I'm interested in downsizing my position, taking profits. And again, I told you I'd be taking profits at these levels. Well, where are we? We're at the levels. And I told you in yesterday's video that after I finish the video, I'm going to be looking for an opportunity to downsize my position, which I did do. We dropped down to where? My target level. And I told you it's possible we bottom just above the 200-week moving average or at it. Right now we're just above it or at it or just below it. We may go below it. We may go down below to 58,000 or below 58,000 if we get something like this. But let me say this, as we drop and we've now reached my 52% decline as I predicted would happen, reaching 60,000, I become less and less confident that the sell-off will continue. So again, I begin downsizing my position. You need to have a strategy. The reason why the Moon Boys and the herd, they're in a world of hurt is because they have no strategy. Yesterday, Michael Saylor posted on X, he posted the word hodl. I made a comment about that, posted something on X at King of the Charts, and I posted that, the Moon Boys are now finding out that hodl are just letters that are used while watching Wheel of Fortune. It's really a stupid, probably the stupidest strategy I think out there is hodl. And again, as I've talked about, most of these people that hodl, a lot of them don't hodl by choice, but because they make dumb choices. Buying a top when the Moon Boys are telling us it's a breakout and it's a fake out. And I told you that we had a top there. We had major resistance. All you had to do was look at the trend lines and the weekly time frame. I showed you those charts over and over and over again. Please support the channel with the link directly below. If you find this information useful, please support the channel. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. Follow the link below. It will take you to a secured site. You can donate any amount you want. If you could take a moment to partner with me. Again, we've now had a 52% drop. Exactly what I predicted. To 60,000, reaching my target levels. So if you find this information helpful, please support the channel today. Again, if you could take a moment to do that, I would really, really appreciate it. A lot's going on here. Opportunities are now presenting themselves, as I talked about, coming down to these levels. Make sure you watch the video all the way through, but please take a moment to help out by supporting my YouTube channel today. Most channels, they have sponsors and sell you stuff and send you to exchanges. I choose not to do that, so please consider helping out today. Thank you. HODL is a really dumb strategy. And then these people also buy the dip all the way down. They buy the dip that keeps on dipping all the way down. You don't want to do that. You want to buy the dip that ends the dipping. Now, I've warned you over and over, I was going to begin to downsize down here at my target levels. I've done that. I was watching this area. Near the close yesterday, we were dropping. We had MicroStrategy earnings, and we dropped further. We were down sharply. We opened up, and we dropped even further, reaching my objective target levels here. I told you I'd be trying to close my positions around the 60 to 63,000 area. We reached that objective target. I talked about it in yesterday's video that I was going to try to downsize my position. I did do that. I downsized my position by half. The measured move measured to 61,000. We dropped under 61,000, and I closed out half of my position immediately. We kept dropping a little bit more. It was a rapid drop down to the low 60,000 area. We reached my objective target, the measured move target of 61,000, reached my target range of 60 to 63,000. And as I said yesterday, there's going to be a bounce, and you could have a bottom either yesterday or today, as I talked about in great length and detail. I hope you watched yesterday's video. I talked about bottoming either Thursday, Friday, or over the weekend or on into early next week. Over the next 5 days, I told you I think we'll see a bottom, and I told you it very well could be Thursday or Friday, and it may have been on Friday. But I think you're going to get a rally for intermediate wave 4, whether that has started now or whether we get another push down and then it starts. Regardless, I think you're going to set up this divergence here on the RSI. And that's when I think you're going to see a bottom. So again, going to be watching to see how all this unfolds. I talked about the stochastic yesterday being at extremes. I told you it's likely going to turn back up. Now, again, it's remained at extremes for an extended period of time through this drop, and you can have that happen. So again, looking for clues. Now we may drop below 60,000 and go into the 50,000 range. I'm not going to cry about a 52% drop. And again, I caught this entire leg down. I talked about the shorting opportunities when I called the day of the top. I talked about the final exit point. I talked about the opportunity here. And again, not a recommendation for anybody to buy or sell. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, just like I'm telling you. Again, we're reaching my objective targets. That means I have to be active and manage my position, which I talked about yesterday, taking money off the table. Again, you don't want to be a perma bull. You don't want to be a perma bear. I'm not interested in that nonsense. I'm interested in making money. Like I got very bullish here at the bottom at the horizontal support, Bitcoin's average price. I got very bearish up here. Again, down here, I'm going to be getting active in closing my short positions, trying to find a long position. Now, I'm not long. but I'm going to be. Now, the bears, they loved me on the way down. They're not going to love me down here. They're not going to love me because I'm going to tell you that we're going to get a bear market rally, as I've been saying. Bulls might like me a little bit. They're not going to like the message that it's going to be a bear market rally. So again, as a trader, it's my job. As a trader, it's your job to manage positions, to look for turning points. As I looked for the turning point over here, as I looked for the turning point over here, and I'm looking for the turning point here. Again, I'm not interested in short-term price fluctuations. Even with today's rally, I'm not interested in short-term price fluctuations. I'm interested in the main movement, okay? People oohing and awing when we hit 80,000 and we rallied. Oh, wow, we rallied up to 97,000, which I predicted correctly would happen. First rally to 94,000 and then the second rally to 97,000. But again, I'm not interested in catching a falling knife. So part of what I do is manage positions, take positions, add to positions, take profits on the positions. And as I've said, everybody's scared, that's when you want to be taking profits. When everybody's so bullish, that's when you want to be taking profits on the bullish side. I want to do the opposite of the herd. So again, looking for another opportunity to close the rest of my position, and then the other thing I'll be doing is looking for an opportunity to go long. Why do I think that? Because I think we're going to get a massive massive bear market rally. So again, I think we could get a drop into February. Maybe it drags into March, but again, I'm looking for a bottom in this area. Maybe we have it here of our 200-week moving average at 60,000. I've talked about that possibility. Again, I don't know the future, but I predict things like I told you we were going to drop 50 to 52%. We've now done that. We may drop even more. I told you 50+% drop. Why do I predict that? Well, that's what Bitcoin's done in the past to kick off the bear market. It's dropped around over 50%. The lowest one was 45%. Biggest one was over 60%. On average, it's just over 50%. Last one was 52%. The one before that was 53%. Again, looking for a bottom here. Looking to take profits here. So you have to understand, I'm not just going to hold my position and get a bear market rally and ride the whole thing back up to 90,000 or 100,000, 95,000 or whatever, 97,000 or 100,000, back up to the 200 period. That's stupid. That's like the Moon Boys buying the breakout and riding this all the way down. And that's what I wrote when Michael Saylor wrote HODL. HODL's one of the stupidest strategies you could do. The people that HODLed just rode Bitcoin down 52%. Now, how is that smart? My goal is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible by swing trading it. So again, I want to be taking profits into the rally, shorting, taking more profits, short positions, and build life-changing wealth. I can get bigger and bigger positions on Bitcoin. Not ride Bitcoin down 52%. That's foolish. That's why I say HODL is one of the stupidest strategies that anybody could use. It's really a dumb strategy. Nevertheless, I digress. Now, I told you to be watching for this extreme to create some type of bottom here, and then again, eventually for a divergence to develop, to be looking for a bottom either Thursday, Friday, or over the next 5 days. And we may have it. Possible. I told you we were getting very oversold and to be watching for a bottom either yesterday on Thursday, bar 8 here, or today, bar 9, which again, at the beginning of the session, we kept dropping right here down to 60,000. We're now down nearly 39% since I called the top on January 14th. I told you we were going to, before we hit it, we were going to rally into that 100 period moving average. That's the pink line right there. We were going to get rejection there. My signals turned bearish on the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. And then we saw the bottom fall out of Bitcoin. Laughed at, mocked again, told what a dope I was, but oh gee, I was right again. Now, again, I'm telling you, I'm looking for a Bitcoin bottom. I think that we'll see a bottom and probably get one more flush out move to the downside. Now, Bitcoin had this low. It dropped initially. Right after the close on Thursday, we opened up and we started dropping more, and then we saw the rally begin to happen, and we rallied up 14% from the previous day's close on Thursday. We're giving it back. We'll be watching to see how we close here. Do we test this low? Do we take it out? Are we starting intermediate wave 4 here, or is this still minor wave 4? Regardless, again, I'm looking for crash wave 3 to finish. Go into intermediate wave 4 and then get intermediate wave 5. Again, after MicroStrategy earnings yesterday, during the session on Thursday, we continued to drop. Even further at the beginning of Friday's session, we were down 14%, and then we went lower, and we've now rallied up 14% from the previous day's close. We're dropping 14% from Wednesday's close. I told you we have a trend extension here, a 13 fall by 9. A bottom's going to develop here if it hasn't already, and then you're going to get a rally likely up towards 75,000 here. We've rallied back up to the low 70,000 area. So if it started, then that can happen. And the rally, if on wave 4, could go as high as the previous low at 80,000. I told you we were likely going to complete the 9 count because, again, you probably weren't going to get above the bar from 4 bars ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is this actual close right there. So I told you I thought we'd complete this 9 count. And as I've said and went into great length and detail yesterday, again, the 9 count, 8 or 9 bar can mark the bottom. That's why I told you to be watching for a bottom either Thursday or Friday, or you can go just under it. So we might get it over the weekend or early next week. But again, you're likely going to see a bottom associated with this 9 count. We had the bottom at 80,000. I told you to be looking for a bottom ahead of the Thanksgiving week. We did get a 9 count, but we ended up dropping a little bit further with this 9 count. Sometimes they mark the turn, sometimes they don't. Here we got a bounce. With it, and that was followed by a trend extension to the downside. So this is telling you you're going to get a bounce or bottom. My guess is you're going to carve out a bottom surrounding this 9 count, and maybe we drop a little bit below it. If we sell up by the end of the session, you might get an inverted hammer. You might get a topping, this big long wick that if you close down here, you can have an inverted hammer, or maybe a doji bottom if we close near the open, and then you could see something like this develop. So we'll be watching. Do we close strong? Do we close weak? Moon Boy's out there calling another bottom. If I zoom out again, other times we've seen the 9 counts mark, 9 and 13 counts mark turning points. It marked the August peak. It marked the January peak over here. It marked the lower high at 116,000, the final exit point. So again, I should be looking for a bottom. Maybe this is it. Again, I told you to be looking for a bottom either Thursday or Friday with the 9 count, or shortly thereafter. The 9 count can create a major bottom, or it could be a counter trend. I think that more likely it's going to be a counter trend for intermediate wave 4. Now, I just want to say this. People get very emotional. You had, again, over here, we're moving to a new recent couple highs here with these peaks above the 94,000 area. With this 97,000 peak, people get very emotional. Oh, bears get all depressed, and then we start collapsing. The bears get all excited, and the bulls get really depressed, and then we collapse. The bears go, yeah, right on, right on. The bears get all happy, and then we get a big rally back up. The bears go back to getting depressed, and the bulls start getting hope and go, yay. So again, keep your emotions in check. Again, I'm looking in this area for a bottoming process. Possible we have it here at 60,000. Possible. Get a rally, go lower if we get wave 4 right here, right now, or go a little bit lower, then get intermediate wave 4 and 5. We'll be watching for clues, but I think it's likely by the end of February you're going to have a divergence that develops over the next few weeks here, and I think that it's still possible that you tag that 200-week moving average or even take it out. But again, try to keep your emotions in check, but sell into fear, as I've talked about. Remember, Bitcoin's dropped now 52%. People are getting scared now, okay? And remember, I've talked about this. I've shown you this in the last several videos. After 50% sell-off, the smart money looks to be buying the dip that ends the dipping. They want to absorb the panic selling. You're starting to see some of that here. You want to absorb the panic selling on anticipation of a future price rise. That's the bear market rally I've been talking about. So again, I'm looking for a bottoming process down here at these levels, 58,000 to 63,000, as I've talked about. Initial objective target, minimum objective target, 60 to 63,000. The 200 week at 58,000, and we might take out the 58,000 area. We might still take out the 200 week. Possible. On average, you've been just over 50%, which is where we're at right now. So I'm looking for a bottom. Talked about coming down to the lower channel line. We almost reached it, but we reached my objective target. We hit 60,000 yesterday, and we hit the measured move target of 61,000. That's why I took half of my profits off the table. I'll be looking for the bottoming process. Again, I become less and less confident as we drop that the sell-off will continue because we're now reaching my target levels. We're now reaching historical levels where Bitcoin has formed a bottom, kicking off the bear market. Now, do I still think we'll probably get this 5-leg push lower? Probably. Become less and less confident. I don't know the future, okay? I'm looking at support and resistance levels using mathematically based indicators to make my trading decision. Elliott wave is speculation. I told you we may bottom Thursday or Friday with wave 3 or try to bounce and then bottom a few days later. I don't know the future. But again, I'm looking at these counts. I'm trying to count impulsive and corrective moves, and I'm anticipating, as I wrote here, anticipating a future price rise up towards, back up to these levels here, up towards the 90,000 range, or maybe even up to, if we reach levels here, the trend line, or higher near the 200-week moving average. Again, you could reach 100,000. Again, that's possible. This is the linear scaling that I'm looking at here. A 50+% rise back to the 50% retracement, maybe into the 90,000, or again, you can go above 100,000 and go even higher. Large percentage move. Bear market rallies are powerful. Again, I want to be looking for a bottom here, reaching my objective targets, getting the 9 count today, the 8 count yesterday. I'm looking for clues. Let me just say one more thing here. Again, we hit the trend line from this low here to excluding the shadow. We've reached that level, okay? We haven't reached this trend line. We were just shy of it. We reached my objective target. So again, I'm looking for one of these trend lines to create a bottom and a bottoming process. We reached this one. Do we still reach this one? Maybe. We'll see. And again, do we still try to tag the 200-week moving average or take it out? So I'm making the video. Bitcoin's up 11.37%. It's back up to 69,000. Bitcoin has reached my major move objective target. The measured move objective target was 61,000. And again, does that ring a bell? My target level between 60 and 63,000. But I told you we still might get a bigger sell-off than that. Still may. Possible we bottom. My guess is we're going to carve out a wave 3 here, either with this low or a little bit lower, and then bounce, and then eventually get the final flush out move towards the mid to end of October or end of February. Things may drag into March, but I think you got a shot that divergence marks the bottom. We've set up. Now, I've talked about the Elliott wave count. There's two ways I'm counting it. Either we're in a minor wave 4 right here, that we're about to get minor wave 5, and we've, at the 200 period, completed intermediate wave 2, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if I start the wave 1 back over here, then you have 1 and 2. I'll show you in a moment, and currently I have this whole thing in minor wave 5, minor wave 4 having already completed up here. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, minor wave 4 completing there, and this whole thing's an extended wave 5, minor wave 5 of intermediate wave 3. Now, it is possible that we're done. Again, Elliott wave is speculation, but I'm just showing you some different ways to count it if we end up forming a divergence here on the MACD. We've turned up, we've rallied, we had this 14% rally, it's stalling out a little bit, and we're turning down. If this count right here is correct, in that we are now in intermediate or a minor wave 4, it can't go above this low right here, which I've marked as minor wave 1 at 74,000, minor wave 2, minor wave 3, minor wave 4. So again, speculation, don't read too much into these counts. The counts could be invalidated. But if we're getting a rally and we end up forming a divergence, you can still see something like this happen before you get the bigger rally back up towards the 74,000 area or towards the 80,000 level with the intermediate wave 4. So this is one way to count it, okay? Now, I'll show you the other count where we move this back to this low right here for our intermediate wave 1. But I'm looking for 5 legs lower. And again, we may see a divergence form a bottom before we get a bigger rally on the MACD and on the RSI here in the 4-hour time frame. By the time we rally up for wave 4, you could be rallying up towards the 200 that's going to continue to drop. Keep this count in your mind that we've finished wave 2 at the 200 here, and you got a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and maybe a 5 coming. If we didn't already bottom over here, and we could have, we're getting a 9 count today in the daily time frame. That's why I told you, be watching for a bottom, either Thursday, Friday, or over the next 5 days. A lot of people are going to be distracted with the Super Bowl. So again, you still see these wild swings down and back up on a Bitcoin. We've now dropped to my target levels. We may drop to the 200-week moving average at 58,000 or even below it. Certainly possible. But here's another way of counting it. Here, rather than intermediate wave 1 being here, I've marked it as over here, intermediate wave 2, and then you get minor waves into intermediate wave 3. Minor wave 1, minor wave 2, possibly a 5-leg push down here for minor wave 3, minor wave 4, and possibly now an extended minor wave 5 unfolding in 5 minute waves. So here I've marked this rally. The other one was minor wave 5. Here it's minute wave 5 of minor wave 5, the whole thing being minor wave 5, and here I have it marked as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with these minute waves. Now this count's a little different. This count, if we have in fact completed minor wave 4 here and started 1, 2 minute waves down, then we can't have an overlap with 72,914. The other count I showed you was the 74,000 area over here for a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, and now minor wave 4. So a couple of different ways of counting it again, and it is possible that we have already bottomed and you just have less defined waves here. That is certainly possible. Again, I don't trade Elliott wave, but I'm trying to determine price direction with it by the process of elimination. Reach my target levels, so I've started downsizing my positions. If we see more downside, I'll be looking for opportunities to close out my short positions and be looking for an opportunity for a long. That may not come until the latter half of February. These counts are speculation. Those are the 2 different counts that I'm looking at. Another possibility is that we did finish crash wave 3 here already, that we don't form a divergence in the 4-hour time frame. I think it's more likely you do form a divergence, so I wouldn't be surprised to push under today's 9 count, but we don't have to, so keep that in mind. We'll see, do we close strong today? Do we close weak? We get back the rally. There's several more hours left in the trading session, so we'll be looking for clues, be looking for opportunities, reaching my target levels now. So again, eventually we're going to form a bottom. My guess is we haven't formed the bottom yet, but we could have, as I've said, might find a bottom at 60 to 63,000 above the 200. I think the RSI in the daily time frame will likely form a divergence by the time we bottom. Still think we can get a final flush out move. Scare the pants off of the herd. Scared now, we're getting a rally back up there going, oh, better. And again, you develop a bottoming process, there might be more scary drops, create complete capitulation. Those are the 2 counts I'm looking at. Another possibility is that we've bottomed here with crash wave 3. We've already started intermediate wave 4. Eventually, I think that will happen. It'll be a wave 4 or wave B. Maybe it has started here. But I still think the 4-hour chart will form a divergence before we get the completion of crash wave 3, but I could be completely wrong about that. I'm just telling you up front what I think. It doesn't mean I'm going to be right about it. And again, Elliott wave is speculation. So keep all of that in mind. I think both the RSI and the awesome oscillator will eventually form divergences in the more recent price action in February or early March. I think that you'll end up getting green bars. We don't have that yet with this rally today, but you could see the green bars soon here, either validating today as a low or in the next couple of days. Then eventually forming a divergence as we go later into February or maybe on into March. I think both the awesome oscillator here in the daily time frame and in the on the RSI in the daily time frame, I think both of them will likely form a divergence. So again, at some point, I think you're going to get the wave 4. Maybe it has started here. My guess is that it's not, but I could be completely wrong. I always have the guts to tell you what I think. Told you, again, my objective target was 60 to 63,000. Told you the measured move here with the weekly chart, 61,000. And we may hit this 200-week moving average just above it and bottom out at it, or just below it. So I'm going to be looking for clues. Well, I think we likely get a divergence on the RSI and the awesome oscillator before we form a bottom. It's possible we bottom above the 200-week moving average. So again, I'm looking for clues. And as I said, I don't know that we drop below the 200-week moving average, but we're reaching my objective targets, and that's why I am downsizing my short positions. Not long yet, but I'm downsizing my short positions, selling and closing them into the fear. You're watching this 200-week moving average to see if we find a bottom above it, at it, or just below it. And we may move below 60,000 into the 50,000 range. That's possible. We'll be looking for clues for a bottom. Now, one other thing, just quickly here, is we do have the possibility of my alternative count, where rather than we get a wave 4, we get a wave B and a larger A, B, C structure. So wave A could be done. That's why I'm trying to tell you the 8 or 9 bar that I've talked about could be marking a bottom. So we're either in a minor wave 4, or you're in this intermediate wave B, or you're in an intermediate wave 4. One of those possibilities is likely. If we're in a minor wave 4, then we can get one more push down, maybe to the trend line. If we didn't quite reach it, we hit the one excluding the shadow here, but not including it. This is a larger WXY marked here in blue, a W, an X, and this whole thing being a Y. So again, and we can rally back up, just like with the minor intermediate wave 4, we could rally back up to 74, 75,000, or even up to 80,000. Marked it here, overthrowing that area. But we could see something like this develop. Then again, your big bear market rally. So don't rule this count out either, that we unfold in a larger ABC. And I put it bigger here because if we do have an ABC, you would likely get a bigger move for the wave B than you would for the wave 4. The larger A, B, C structure. So keep that in mind. This count is still possible. Well, at the moment, I'm leaning towards the other count that we're in primary wave 5.